Welcome to today's video. Today, we dive into the clash of chess titans, world number 1, Magnus Carlsen, and world number 2, Hikaru Nakamura. Carlsen has a more conventional, logical approach to the game, while Nakamura is known for his instinctive, unpredictable style. It's a fascinating encounter as both of them are very strong, especially in shorter formats. The time control is 20 minutes with no increment. Magnus, representing Alpine SG Pipers with white pieces, opens pawn to e4. Hikaru, representing American Gambits, replies with c5, the Sicilian defense. After knight to f3, Hikaru surprises Magnus with g6, hyper-accelerated dragon variation, which is a bit uncommon. After some thought, Magnus plays d4. After c takes d4, knight takes d4, Hikaru brings out his bishop to g7. We have c4, Magnus goes for Maroczy bind pawn structure, knight to c6, bishop to e3. Knight to f6 or d6 are more common here, but Hikaru goes queen to b6, putting pressure on b2 pawn. Knight to b5, blocking attack on b2 and at the same time attacking black queen. Queen to f5 check. Knight 5 to c3, queen to b4. Hikaru attacks b2 pawn again. Hikaru has moved his queen 3 times in the opening, which is normally not recommended by opening principles. But Hikaru has specific reasons. After some thought, Magnus plays queen to c1. As on move 9, we already have a very rare position on the board. Magnus has spent around 3 minutes, while Hikaru, playing fast, has spent just half a minute. Both the players continue their normal development with d6, knight d2, bishop e6, putting pressure on c4 pawn, bishop e2, preparing for castle. Hikaru can play normally with knight f6 followed by castle. But then it allows Magnus very easy play like castle followed by f4. So Hikaru plays an interesting move, bishop d4, it is also top engine move. After spending 5 minutes, Magnus plays bishop takes d4. We have knight takes d4, bishop to d3, Magnus avoids trading his bishop for the knight. Rook to c8, Hikaru puts his rook on the semi-open c-file. Short castle. Knight to f6, Hikaru finally develops the knight. Rook e1, Hikaru can castle here, but he goes for a more aggressive move, knight to g4. Magnus kicks the knight h3. Knight e5, Hikaru reroutes the knight to attack white bishop on d3. Magnus retreats bishop to f1. Knight takes c4 would be a mistake, as after knight takes c4, bishop takes c4, knight to d5, white deflects black queen to win bishop or knight. Of course, Hikaru sees this and plays short castle. Magnus attacks black queen with a 3. After queen to b6, Magnus goes knight to d5, attacking black queen and pawn on e7. After bishop takes d5, e takes d5, e6, Magnus plays knight e4, threatening knight f6 check. Hikaru plays f5. If Magnus moves his knight, then Hikaru threatens knight to b3, forking white queen and rook. But Magnus calmly plays c5, excellent move. We have d takes c5, knight g5, queen d6, queen e3, attacking knight on e5, knight f7. Magnus captures e6 pawn. Rook f to e8, pinning the knight. Bishop c4. Knight c2 looks tempting here, forking white queen in both rooks. However, it's actually a blunder as white has queen c3, threatening queen g7 checkmate in the knight. Anyway, Hikaru is too strong to fall for such tactics and plays knight d8, putting more pressure on e6 knight. Rook a to d1, Magnus centralizes his other rook, knight 8 takes e6, Hikaru trades the knights, d takes e6. Magnus has a strong passer on e-file. However, can Hikaru manage to find counterplay and put pressure on Magnus? Hikaru goes rook to e7. We have b4, attacking c5, which is defender on knight on d4. b6, Hikaru reinforces, b takes c5, b takes c5, Magnus manages to create isolated c5 pawn weakness. He starts the kingside attack with h4, Hikaru counterattacks with f4. We have queen e4. King g7, Hikaru has majority of his pieces on dark squares while Magnus has light square bishop. Rook b1, Magnus wants control of open b-file. Hikaru can play rook c to e8, adding another attacker to e6 pawn, but he goes knight to f5. We have rook e to d1, attacking black queen, and if queen moves, planning rook d7. knight to d4, Hikaru has wasted tempo with last two knight moves. Magnus continues his kingside pawn storm with h5. Hikaru finds the best move in this position within few seconds, king f6. Planning queen e5. Magnus stops the plan with rook e1. Knight takes e6 is a good option here. After bishop takes e6, rook takes e6, black would be fine. But Hikaru prefers rook c to e8. Magnus plays rook b to d1, pinning the d4 knight. We have g takes h5. Rook d3. Rook g8. Rook h3. Rook g5. Rook h4. Magnus is a pawn down, but black pawns are weak. Hikaru should play rook to f5 here, but he plays f3, which is a mistake. Magnus takes advantage of it with rook f4 check. After king g7, g3, h4, best move for Magnus here is bishop d3. Threatening queen takes h7. If king h8, then Magnus' queen and rooks will infiltrate the back rank. However, Magnus misses it under time pressure. He plays rook takes h4, which is a mistake. Can you find a nice tactic to take advantage of it? Rook takes g3. Hikaru finds it. F takes g3 would be a blunder due to queen takes g3 check, king h1, queen g2 checkmate. After king h1, rook g6, rook g1, Magnus threatens rook takes h7. After king takes h7, queen takes g6, Magnus has a winning attack. Hikaru needs to find the only move to hold and he finds it. You can pause the video and try to find. Rook takes e6. Brilliant, mind-blowing idea. If bishop takes e6, then after rook takes g1 check, king takes g1, knight e2 check, black threatens checkmate with a completely winning position. Magnus has to find the only move to survive and he does. Rook takes g6. Magnus has 2 minutes on the clock and Hikaru has less than a minute. Remember there is no increment, so they need to be careful. We have queen b7 check, king f6, queen f7 check, a mistake by Magnus in time pressure, king g5. Hikaru finds the only winning move, attacking white rook on h4. After rook h3, knight f5, black has a strong attack. Queen takes h7. Can Hikaru find the only winning move again, rook h6? After rook takes h6, queen takes h6, queen takes h6, king takes h6, the endgame would be completely winning for Hikaru. But with only a few seconds on the clock, he misses it and plays knight to f5. Allowing Magnus to equalize with rook h5 check. We have king f4, bishop f1, rook g5, rook takes g5, king takes g5. Magnus wins an important a7 pawn with queen takes a7. Hikaru attacks f2 pawn with queen d4, king g1, Magnus defends. With not much time left on the clock and no chance to win for either side, Hikaru gives perpetual checks. Queen g4 check, king h2, queen h4 check, king g1, queen g4 check, king h2, queen h4 check, and this exciting match finally ends in a fighting draw. Both these amazing stalwarts of chess demonstrated their aggressive styles with phenomenal preparation and sharp tactical play. The competition between them has enhanced the glamour of chess and elevated the game to the next level. Thanks for watching. What did you think of this epic showdown? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more chess content. See you in the next video.